Okay, let's just dive right into this because we really need to talk about a massive, massive misconception in modern dating. There's this widely held belief, especially, among men, that constant pursuit directly equals emotional attraction. It's like the thought process is if I just keep texting first, if I keep checking in and I stay constantly available, well, then I'm going to build a stronger connection, right? Well, actually, scratch that. The psychology tells us a completely different story. Constant chasing often literally kills attraction, while stepping back, that's the very thing that sparks it.
But, and I hear this all the time, you might be wondering, does stopping the chase mean losing them completely? Look, it's a very real, very deep fear. Deep down, the pursuer believes that if they stop initiating, the whole connection is just going to evaporate into thin air. And honestly, the fear of that silence is exactly why they keep pushing so hard. But to really understand the counterintuitive psychology of what actually happens when you hit the brakes, we first have to look at what constant availability is doing to the human brain.
It creates what we call emotional predictability. See, when your attention is just always there, it's not necessarily unwanted, it's just entirely expected. She knows you're going to text first. She knows you'll be there. And because of that absolute certainty, her mind gets comfortable and relaxes. Think about it. When someone is always present, like clockwork, the mind simply stops paying active attention to them in the exact same way. You essentially become emotionally invisible because, well, certainty just doesn't require any active thought at all.
Which brings us to our next phase, the catalyst, creating emotional space. So what actually happens, the exact moment that predictable energy suddenly changes?
Well, uncertainty forces the mind to become active. Before, you were super easy to understand, a totally known variable. But the moment the pursuit disappears, all that certainty just vanishes, and suddenly, her thoughts get a whole lot louder. Natural questions start popping up that she literally never had to ask before. Things like, wait, why did his energy change? Did I lose him emotionally? Is he maybe talking to somebody else now? By simply removing that certainty, you force a total shift in perception. Believe it or not, discomfort actually fuels emotional engagement.
It all really boils down to this brilliant insight from the source material. Absence creates emotional awareness in ways constant presence often cannot. When someone knows they can access you at any second, without any friction whatsoever, your value feels familiar, it feels safe. But the absolute second that pattern breaks, the psychological value shifts. Space actually provides the necessary room for the other person to feel what's missing. People often only clearly realize that emotional value after the constant availability is taken away.
Now, let's move into the hidden reaction beneath the surface. Because I have to warn you, the psychological effects of this newly created absence are often completely hidden from plain sight.
The very moment you stop chasing, this rapid-fire internal change kicks off. Her mind gets louder, definitely not quieter. She begins to question past certainties, maybe wondering if she took your attention for granted. And most importantly, she shifts from being just a passive receiver of your attention to an active participant in the dynamic, one who actually has to confront her true feelings. Suddenly, your silence carries real emotional weight, and her real level of interest, it has absolutely nowhere left to hide.
And this is where so many guys get completely confused. It's kind of like an iceberg. Externally, she might appear completely calm, totally normal, and absolutely unaffected by your silence. So you might just assume, oh, she just doesn't care. But internally, look, people hide emotional impact way better than they reveal it publicly, especially when pride is involved. Internally, her mind is racing. She might be checking if you viewed her stories, or noticing when you're online but not messaging, and privately replaying those old conversations.
This whole attachment process happens in a very specific, step-by-step sequence. When you are always chasing, her role is entirely passive. But step 1, pursuit stops. Step 2, emotional space forms. Step 3, when that space forms, she finally actually notices the silence. And step 4, that silence forces the ultimate confrontation. Does she actually miss you as a person, or does she just miss the validation that your constant attention provided?
Which triggers the ultimate internal shift, reconnecting with yourself. This is absolutely crucial because this is exactly where the narrative completely pivots from what she is doing to what you are doing.
I want to be absolutely clear about this. Pulling back is not about manipulation. It is not revenge, and it is definitely not some toxic game meant to make someone panic. Instead, stepping back is a highly mature, boundary-setting move. It's deeply rooted in genuinely valuing your own peace, your own priorities, and your emotional self-respect, rather than just abandoning yourself to keep someone else interested.
So when you stop initiating, you finally get to see her real level of interest.
And honestly, there are really only two outcomes here. If she genuinely feels a connection, she will likely reach out subtly, maybe a quick message, a reaction to a post, or some random excuse to start a conversation, simply because losing your presence feels wrong to her. But if nothing happens at all, yeah, that hurts, for sure. However, you finally receive some much-needed clarity instead of just endless emotional confusion. And let's be real, clarity is infinitely healthier than being trapped chasing someone who just isn't moving toward you.
There is such a profound psychological difference between these two states. A man consumed by the chasing mindset is anxious. He's emotionally scattered, literally waking up every single day obsessed with whether she texted back. It completely destroys your confidence. But a grounded mindset, that happens when you reconnect with yourself. You focus on your own purpose, your routines, your goals. You become calm, you become stable, and way less desperate for validation. You are essentially rebuilding your self-respect.
Because as the source points out, attraction responds strongly to emotional energy. Women feel this internal shift immediately. You become naturally more attractive, not because you're playing hard to get, not at all, but because you are emotionally grounded and stable. Healthy attraction thrives when both people freely move toward each other, not when one person is carrying the entire weight of the connection on their back.
So, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question to reflect on. Have you ever stopped chasing someone and noticed their behavior suddenly change afterward? It's such a fascinating dynamic that really challenges everything we're taught about effort and reward in relationships. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Take a step back, prioritize your own peace, and just see what happens.